Listen up. Ever tracked your steps, counted calories, or timed yourself finishing chores? Congratulations, you're a metric nerd. And you didn't even need a corporate office for that. I know, metrics, KPIs, they sound like this boring corporate mumbo jumbo that nobody wants, or yet another acronym that you have to memorize. But here's the thing, you've probably been using KPIs every single day of your life without even knowing it. In this short and sweet video, we're breaking down what metrics actually are, why they matter, and how to pick the right ones for your life or work. Let's clear up some confusion first. A metric is basically everything that you can measure, anything that you can put a value on. A KPI, on the other hand, is a special metric that is tied to a strategic objective and tells you if you're hitting what really matters. So yeah, all KPIs are basically metrics, but not all metrics are KPIs. Some just measure stuff that don't matter to you in a given time frame, and some just don't show performance at all. Ever had to keep an eye on your budget for a trip or just for your expenses? That's just a metric, nothing more. However, how much you actually spend out of that budget or how cleverly you manage to stretch it, now we're talking performance. If your objective is to mind your spending, then percentage budget variance can be a key measure. A KPI that tells you if you're actually hitting your objective. Air temperature outside, for most of us, is just an sometimes uncomfortable metric. But if you're an organization that is trying to fight climate change, the average temperature increase over the years becomes a critical KPI. It's what really shows if you're making an impact or not. Do you love hitting the gym? Well, just counting the minutes you spend at the gym doesn't tell you the full story, or almost none of it, especially if you're like that one guy from my gym who is basically glued to his phone and sitting by the window most times. If your objective is actually building muscle, for example, then the real KPI is the muscle mass you gain, not the time you spend scrolling. Or think about food. The number of times you eat in a day, that's just a metric, a number you can easily ignore while binging Netflix. But if your objective is to fit into your favorite pair of jeans, or to be able to survive Michael Scott's fun run race, without losing your breath, then calories intake becomes the KPI that really matters. So, how do you know if a metric is a KPI? Well, sometimes it's just obvious, like in the example I provided above. But when it gets messy, I like to think of it like buying a car or something of importance to you. Replace car with anything else that you prefer. Well, step one, you need to figure out your needs. Family car, sports car, red, black, the budget. That's your objective in a corporate setting. Step two, do your research. Google, ChatGPT, call your friends who know their stuff, maybe debate with your spouse as well. Basically, it's like checking documents and talking to experts or to key employees within an organization just to figure out what their opinion is. Step three, make a short list based on your research. You've got options, but no obligations yet. And just like when you walk into a dealership and you see a car that wasn't even on your radar, sometimes a KPI you didn't expect or you didn't have on your list turns out to be just the one. Step four, choose wisely. In an organization, do this in a workshop with all important stakeholders. For yourself, check each KPI on the list. Does it actually measure your objective? Does it make sense? Does it have any hidden drawbacks? Don't just grab the first shiny thing. Think of it like a car buyer who wants something that's actually useful and will match the initial needs. So, how do we actually choose our KPI? Well, first rule, don't choose inputs or resources, meaning what you need in order to achieve your objective. Tools, budget, staff, they don't measure performance. They aren't your KPIs because they actually don't tell you anything about the achievement of any objective. Got a favorite dessert? Perfect. Let's say our objective is to bake that cake for a get-together with our friends. Just having ingredients, an oven, utensils, or even a bit of help from our family, does that mean we are baking a cake? Nope. Unfortunately, not even close. Then we've got all the process stuff, what we do in order to achieve our objective. Prep time, mixing time, baking time, percentage of utilization of our resources or ingredients, or even methods we use. Think interviews for research. Sure, you can measure those, but should any of these be your first pick for a KPI? Probably not. because none of them is telling you if you will end up with a cake or maybe just a burnt disaster. You could spend all day prepping, mixing, baking, just to pull out a burnt cake from the oven. And yes, even the legendary Cedric Rollet isn't immune to this. After the process, we have the output, or basically the direct result. This is where we ask ourselves, did we actually get a cake? If you're baking more than one, then your output could actually be number of cakes baked. Next comes the outcome, which people confuse often with output. In order to separate between them, the easiest way is to think of the output as the result and the outcome as the impact of that result. First, you need to have the cake, and then you could consider the happiness you get from eating the cake. You could even break the impact into short, medium, and long-term impact, but let's not overcomplicate it. For the sake of choosing KPIs, you don't need to get that fancy. So, if our output is number of cakes we baked for the get-together, then the outcome can be something like number of compliments we get, overall happiness level increase, or even how many friends end up with a sugar rush or ruin their diets while eating your cake. Most people, and even the OKR methodology, would say go for the outcome metric because impact is king. But let's remember our objective. Bake our favorite cake for the get-together. Does outcome really tell us if we managed to achieve the objective? Well, what if your friends are raving about the decor and are complimenting your sense of aesthetic instead of complimenting your baking abilities? Or they're high on the cookies they smuggled in on the way to your party instead of the cake itself. You can totally use process or outcome metric as your KPIs to give you a fuller picture. But your primary KPI should come from the output because that's what actually ties to your objective. On top of choosing the right metric, we also need to pay close attention to the targets and the expectations we set. If we're not careful, we can easily trigger unintended behaviors. People start gaming the system to meet the target instead of achieving real results. If you pack your schedule too tightly and you run out of time to bake the cake, instead of owning up to it and admitting to your friends that, well, you didn't manage your time very well, you might just show up with a store-bought cake and pretend it's yours, just like Medir did in Family Reunion. The only difference, her goal was to win a competition with her sisters, while yours is just impressing your friends with your baking abilities instead of actually baking your favorite cake. And things are the same in organizations. People don't like looking bad or admitting they didn't hit 100% when 100% is the gold standard. Sometimes they're afraid of the stick or the public shame that might come from it. So instead, they just find creative ways of making it look like they hit 100% when the reality couldn't be further from the truth. So yeah, whether you're baking a cake or hitting your corporate KPIs, the goal isn't to look perfect, it's actually to grow. Metrics and targets should push us forward, not make us fake success. So let's aim for honesty over optics and make progress be the real gold standard. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, how do you set your KPIs and what's that one metric you track in your own life? Thanks for hanging out.